Have you ever wondered how an ancient Jewish ritual could have such a deep connection to a core belief in Christianity? Well, today, we're going to unpack the incredible story of the Passover. We'll see how it's understood not just as history, but as a blueprint for something, well, something much, much bigger. So let's get right into it.
Okay, let's just jump right into the middle of the action. Picture this: ancient Egypt. 9 plagues have already hammered the land, but Pharaoh, he just won't budge. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. And then a final terrifying prophecy is made, one that is absolutely going to change everything.
This is where our story really kicks off, in the book of Exodus chapter 11. We're on the eve of a night that will go down in history. For some, it was a night of pure terror and judgment, but for others, it was a night of miraculous deliverance.
So what was this final terrible warning? A plague so devastating it would take the life of every firstborn son in Egypt. We're talking from the heir to Pharaoh's throne all the way down to the son of a servant. No one was exempt. But get this, in the midst of all this, the Hebrews are told to go ask their Egyptian neighbors for silver and gold. Now, why would they do that? Because this was more than just punishment. It was about to be a massive transfer of wealth and power.
So faced with this absolutely terrifying judgment, you'd think there was no way out, right? Well, God provides a very specific path to safety. And it wasn't just, say a prayer and hope for the best. No, it was a detailed, step-by-step ritual. This is the origin of the very first Passover.
Survival, deliverance. It all came down to 4 incredibly specific steps. 1. Pick a perfect, flawless lamb. 2. Sacrifice that lamb. 3. Paint its blood over the door of your house. And 4. Roast and eat the lamb. Every single one of these steps was dripping with meaning.
Let's just focus on that first step for a second. The lamb had to be without blemish. This wasn't just about picking a healthy animal. No. It was a symbol of purity, of perfection. This was meant to be a perfect substitute, taking the place of something else.
And the blood on the doorframe? Think about it. That was a bold, public declaration. It was a visible sign to everyone, and to the coming judgment, that said, a substitute has already died here. This wasn't a hidden hope, it was a defiant act of faith.
Now, for thousands of years, the Jewish people have faithfully retold this story. They celebrate Passover as this powerful remembrance of their deliverance from slavery in Egypt. It's a cornerstone of their entire history. But for Christians, this story is also seen as something more. It's viewed as a prophecy, a foreshadowing of another lamb and a different kind of sacrifice. To really get this connection, we need to understand a concept called typology. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. It's the idea that certain people or events in the Old Testament are like previews. They're types that point forward to something that will be fully revealed in the New Testament. And the Passover lamb? Yeah, that's seen as one of the most powerful types of all.
So what we really have here is a tale of 2 lambs. On one hand, you've got the original Passover lamb from Exodus. Its physical sacrifice saved the firstborn from a physical death. On the other hand, you have Jesus, who Christians call the Lamb of God. His spiritual sacrifice is believed to save all of humanity from a spiritual death. So how exactly do these 2 connect?
Remember that rule we talked about? How the lamb had to be perfect, without blemish? Well, hold on to that thought, because that single detail is the key to unlocking this whole theological parallel.
You see, early Christian writers, like the Apostle Peter, drew a direct line from one to the other. They connected the physical perfection of the animal to the spiritual perfection, the sinlessness of Jesus. The whole idea is that for a sacrifice to be truly perfect, the one being sacrificed must also be perfect.
And the death itself, it couldn't be clearer. The lamb's death was a substitution. Its life was given in place of the firstborn son's life. One died so the other could live. That is what stopped the judgment in its tracks.
And right here, this is the absolute core of the Christian interpretation. Jesus' death is seen in the exact same way as a substitutionary sacrifice. The belief is that just as the lamb died in place of the firstborn, Jesus died in place of all humanity. But, the story doesn't just stop there with that one night of survival. What the Israelites were told to do next is every bit as significant. The very next command was to get rid of all the leaven in their houses. Think of yeast or a sourdough starter. Why? Because leaven has this way of spreading, of getting into everything. This whole ritual became known as the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and it happened right after Passover.
Now, fast forward to the New Testament, and you see the Apostle Paul using this same exact imagery as a powerful metaphor. He says leaven is like sin.
something that can quietly spread and corrupt an entire community. And unleavened bread? That represents a life of sincerity and truth. The feast itself becomes this beautiful symbol of the new life you can live after the sacrifice.
So here's the big takeaway from all this. The Passover sacrifice wasn't supposed to be the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new one. It was meant to kickstart a brand new way of life, one that's been cleansed, purified from all those old, corrupting influences. And that brings us to the ultimate theme that's woven through this entire story, both the original account and its Christian interpretation. That razor-thin line between divine judgment and divine mercy.
In Exodus, you see God make two incredibly powerful I will statements. The first is a promise of judgment. I will strike down the firstborn. The second, though, is a promise of mercy. I will pass over you. So the big question is, what's the one thing that separates those two outcomes?
Well, the answer is stated as clearly as it can be. It's the blood of the Lamb. The promise is conditional. It says, when I see the blood, I will pass over you. In that moment, in the original story, the blood of that lamb was the only thing standing between life and death.
And so, we come full circle, back to this central question, one that echoes from ancient Egypt all the way to today. What separates judgment from mercy? According to this story and its deep interpretation, the answer isn't about being good enough, or trying harder, or earning your way out. The answer is simply the blood of the Lamb. And that is a provocative thought to leave you with.